Now, moving on to the other coast, the East Coast, the lesser of the coast, the Mets, Phillies. I'm sorry, the National League, it's so perfect how these playoffs are. The Mets, Phillies, it is right now, again, that series, just like the Dodgers, Padres, it's 1-1. Game one, it goes to the Mets in super late comeback fashion, like basically the Mets this year. I don't know what you want to call them, the heart attack Mets, the comeback Mets, whatever it is. They did it against Milwaukee. You see Pete Alonso really excited about something right here. I'm assuming the go-ahead home run in the ninth inning against Devin Williams, where he had a 3-run home run into right field. You're talking about the way to get into the playoffs against the Braves was just absolutely incredible. One of the best baseball games I had ever seen, especially in an impact game like that. And then you're going into the series against Philly, and you're going against Wheeler in game one. I believe it was Wheeler, or was it Nola game one? Wheeler game one. And they were just getting absolutely dominated and decided to score 5 runs in the 8th. Like who does that? And so the Mets come back, win against the Phillies game 1. Game 2, Phillies walk it off. Castellanos walking it off. I'm amazed there wasn't a huge world event, because that's what Castellanos tends to do in whenever he decides to hit a home run or do a walk-off. James, what are you thinking about this series so far? Are you more excited about this Mets-Phillies series or this Dodgers-Padres? Take away your Mets fandom, and what series so far have you been more excited about?
So when I found out that it was going to be Padres-Dodgers and Mets-Phillies, all I was thinking about is the following round, because who the hell am I going to root for if the Dodgers end up playing the Mets? And I'm the biggest Ohtani fan in the world, but I'm also a huge Met fan, so I don't know what the hell I'm going to do. It's very, very difficult for me not to put my fandom aside in this case and look at the Dodgers-Padres the same way. It's just impossible for me. I'm equally as excited about both, to tell you the truth. I got to see both games. It's not like I'm paying attention to one and not paying attention to the other. I'm equally as jacked for both of them.
It's amazing. In this series, I mean, here's the thing about it is, what's funny to think is the Mets have the largest payroll in baseball. Let's not forget that. Like, let's not just gloss over this, right? Mets have the largest payroll in baseball, even though almost half of that is going to 2 guys that aren't pitching right now.
Yeah.
Which is so great. Like $60-some million is going to 2 guys that aren't even on the roster, and they're at home on vacation, which is absolutely insane. Blows my mind. But it's still the number 1 payroll in baseball by far. We're all excited about it. They're a comeback team. They are a chemistry team. They're doing it all, and they've done it in amazing, fun fashion, like in the way they're doing it. But like, let's stop calling these Mets like underdogs. I think they're underdogs by just because they played like crap all year long, and that they're paying more money out the door than they have in the door. But their payroll is equal basically to the Phillies. They're right there. It's just that the Phillies, the thing about it, the reason we call the Mets like the underdogs, because they played like crap, and 2, they're not as good of like a team unit for as long. And so then we're sitting there going, okay, the Phillies have been good and a good team, and nothing bad comes out of that, and like everything stays in house, and like it seems like a really good group of guys that are fun and fiery and feisty and play baseball the right way. And then all of a sudden the Mets come into this thing, and we're like, oh well, they're like the comeback kids. Like, they're the underdogs. They're the scrappy ones. You're like, well, they're getting paid more. Well, it's a weird contrast.
They're getting paid more, but let's not forget, though, that the Phillies, despite the payroll, are far, far more talented than the New York Mets. There's nobody. I mean, look at the starters for the Mets and look at the starters for the Phillies. Would you take,
I would take the starting rotation. I assume you're talking about. I would take them without a doubt, and that's better. That's money wisely spent, right?
Right, but then you look at the lineup.
By the way, who would ever say that? Money wisely spent by Dombrowski.
Right, go figure. But and then you look at the lineup that the Phillies have, and they're a far better lineup on paper than the Mets. It's not even close. Together. I mean, Lindor is the only one on the Mets that you would say is better than anybody on the Phillies.
And then at the same time, I would even have some right. We would always have arguments like, is Justin Turner and Lindor? Like, I would take Justin Turner. Lindor this year But Justin Turner over the course of his career, I think but we're like right here, right? There's years Turner's better, there's years Lindor's better, and we're still just like this, like. And Bryce Harper, like, would I take Bryce Harper or Lindor? Like, Bryce Harper's career he's got to got it done, you know. And you're like, okay, so it's one of those things. Then you're saying, okay, then you're like big power hitters. All right, would you take Schwarber or would you take Alonso? And you're like, right here, like, would you take Castellanos or would you take, I don't know, one of the other Mets guys? I don't know. But would you take who's catcher, right? You're definitely taking Real Muto. But at the end of the day, like, you're kind of starting going man for man, and you're like, wow, they kind of match up a little bit.
It's close, but I think it always leans towards the Phillies.
Yeah. I think it does too, and but it's again. I think a lot of times we look at it and go, man for man as a team, they're rock steady, and we haven't seen them waver. And the only spot we really see them waver is the bullpen. That's really it. And I'm still, my mind is blown that they haven't had that more locked in, that they didn't go into the season a little bit more like rock steady back. And just, we know who's getting the ball 7, 8, 9 every single day. And this is going to be a problem. And that's how you give up 5 runs in the 8th and a run in the 9th to lose it to the Mets.
I've been waiting to ask you, though, since we both agree that the Phillies are more talented than the Mets, what's more important, chemistry or talent? Because you see, the Mets have the chemistry. There's no question. Chemistry, without a doubt.
I would say that, and that's where the Yankees had failed for a while, where they had so much talent, and that's how the Yankees just get close and got close and close. That's how the Dodgers get close and get close, and you're like, what is that difference maker? And that's why some of these teams can surprise you, because it's that chemistry and at the same time, playing really good baseball when it matters the most. Like that's the end all be all. That's the Tigers. That's how the Rockies in 07 like went from nothing, absolutely nothing in August to World Series. It's just by playing really good baseball when it matters the most.
I was listening to Jim Bowden yesterday on MLB Network Radio, and he said something so interesting, and I never thought I'd hear this. He said that the Mets GM and manager will be around as long as Scherholtz and Cox were in Atlanta.
Ooh, David Stearns. I would say David Stearns without a doubt. I think there's going to be still a fall off. Here's the thing is, we can say it, they'd be around forever, but if they didn't have August and September, Mets manager's gone.
Oh, I don't think so. I disagree.
Okay, or maybe lasted another year unless they're 500 in April, and then they're gone. And David Stearns, at the same time, at the GM, is going to be around for a long time. He is a player development monster. He is a developed talent monster. The reason the Brewers are the Brewers right now is because of him, and then bringing them up to the major league level and making them either talent to trade or talent to play. Yep. And he is David Stearns. That's such a signing. That's such a deal that is so overlooked sometimes. And all of this starts with him, because it's going to be, the Mets will be good because of him for a long time. And that's where the Mets really struggled, right? That's where they really struggled under Brody
Van Wagenen.
Brody Van Wagenen, where they just had no front office, they had no analytics, they had player development. What are they doing? And that's a big question. It was when you bring a guy like that and he sets the table, he builds the concrete for the foundation and sets the tone, and then it's just let the players play. If they don't have August, September, though, like, maybe the manager's around just because he's a new manager. But at the end of the day, like, hot seats happen really quick in New York, and it would have been hard to manage under that type of hot seat. Now, this helps out a lot, but if they come out next year and they're 500 again, the first couple months, and there's going to be a lot, there's the exact same questions just going to come up, and that's going to be hard to do, especially when you have Pete Alonso leaving, and you've got a lot of issues with your lineup other than they got really hot.
He's not leaving. That home run against the Brewers kept him a Met.
Well, he's still going to be a free agent.
He's not going anywhere. I don't think there's any chance he goes anywhere now.
Maybe. I don't think he should go anywhere. I'm in this boat, but I remember there were times where there was conversations and you were equally saying, I don't know if they should have signed him back for the money. A lot of people were saying don't sign him back, and then all of a sudden he does this Pete Alonso normal things, and they're like, oh, sign him back. It's like, what? Where were you in April?
Listen, it's all going to come down to the money, like we know. And I kind of have an idea, and you know me, as soon as the season's over, the prognosticator of prognosticators will return, and I will tell you exactly how much everybody's going to sign for. And as you know, I'm pretty damn accurate with that, except for Ohtani. That was ridiculous.
Well, that's pretty ridiculous.